right, so I always love to get a bit of a feel for the audience. So how many of you are from Denver? Oh my God, like really? Like originally? Okay, how many from like the West Coast? Like, is there some pride in the West Coast? Come on. All right, how about the East Coast? Okay, how many from the South? I didn't say Texas yet. Come on, Texas is a whole other thing, right? So we got Texas. What have I missed? The Midwest. Who's from the Midwest? All right, how many's from Nebraska? How many from New Hampshire? Just kidding. All right, so my name is David Gerber. Like Benji mentioned, I'm an executive coach, and I get the pleasure of like working one-on-one with clients a lot of times, and then once in a while I speak and do workshops and things like this. And so what we want to do is we want to invite you into the gymnasium. How many of you have been to a gymnasium? A gym at all this year? Okay, great. And so, Benji, can we put that cool slide up with the cool gym stuff? Yeah, sweet. So this is going to be like a gym for you and for your goals. So I'll do a little bit of storytelling, but really we're going to invite you to lift the weights because no matter how good of a personal trainer I could be, if I lift the weights, you can't get any stronger. And so we want... Am I stepping in the wrong place? Okay, cool. We'll go over here. Okay. And so I invite you to lift the weights. And so we're going to start off with an icebreaker. So what I want you to give you a chance to do is meet the people at your table. And so there's two objectives. One is to tell your table who you are. And then the second thing is to say, what is a dream that you've wanted to do for a decent amount of time, but you have not done yet? What is a dream that you've wanted to do for a little bit of, like for a few years at least, but you haven't yet done? Okay, so we're gonna play some background music. We're gonna give you probably about 5 minutes, so maybe like 30 seconds a person, so it don't take too long. So what's your name, who are you, and what's a dream that you've wanted to do for a long time, but you haven't done? Ready, set, go. All right, as I rush in the icebreaker, I forgot to introduce that I brought a few other coaches from our firm, so I wanna introduce them quick. CJ, say hi, CJ. CJ lives in Thornton. I brought Aaron Keys, who's in the back. Aaron is like a worship leader extraordinaire, does all kinds of fun stuff, writes songs, right? Okay, he lives in Colorado Springs. And then I got Tim Gibson with us. Tim, he would kill me for telling you this, but he's literally a former one-star general in the Air Force. And so he joined, he was also a former president of King's College in New York City, if you know what that is. And so he joined our firm like a year ago. So it's really great to have the three of them with. If afterwards, if you're mingling or whatever and you have burning questions about what we do, you can ask those people. Or if you have questions about whatever come up tonight, you can ask them as well. So what did you come up with at your tables? Like, what did you say? Like, shout it out loud, or somebody, like, I want to hear what you said. What dreams have you not gone after? Drive a Zamboni. Let's go. Okay. What else? Professional hip-hop dancer. Okay. Finishing your books with an S. I love it. So like multiple books.
Open my own gym.
Open your own gym. Okay. All right. What else? Professional volleyball. You know, I tried to get into this league that's at Washington Park, and I can't get in the league. Does anybody know how to get in that league? I went to the website, and I tried to apply 3 times. I think I just get rejected. I don't know what the deal is. They said, show up on Sunday and just start playing. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So, all right, professional. Can we go play? Yeah, okay. Can you, seriously?
Yeah, I play there all the time.
Oh, sick. This is how you get in. All right, what's your name?
Stetson.
Oh, I'll find you. All right. Stetson. That is a great name. All right, what else?
We did 2 marathons.
2 marathons. Oh, 2 at the table.
Yeah.
Marathon. So you haven't run. Why haven't you run a marathon yet?
I failed twice.
You failed twice?
I got injured once, and the second time I wasn't ready, so this is 3.
3. Okay, great. Okay. Who else didn't? Why haven't you done a marathon? Haven't committed. Okay. All right.
Hilltops is in 4 months. Hey!
Wow, you're getting sucked in, man. Now you put it out there. What else? Anybody else?
Bike 100 miles.
Bike 100 miles. So a century ride. I love it. Where do you want to bike?
The Denver Century Ride.
Okay, great. Why not the what's the 3 peaks or the triple bypass? That sounds fun. Hey, I mean, you might as well go for it. Okay, what else? A few from over here.
Taekwondo.
Learn Taekwondo. Olympic Taekwondo. Is that different than Taekwondo?
Not too much.
Not too much. Okay. I don't know anything about martial arts. You can probably tell. What else?
Expand my business to open a wellness studio.
Okay, wellness studio, focusing on.
So I want to have tenants. So I want to have like a chiropractor, nails, hair, nutritionist, acupuncturist.
Love it. Very cool. All right. A couple more over here. This seems quiet over here. What's the deal? Coach football. Like what kind of football?
High school.
Like American football?
Yeah.
Okay, not football. Okay. All right.
Live and work in another country.
Live and work in another country. Which country?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. All right. Somebody at this table.
Skydive Patagonia.
Have you skydived before? Where? Florida. That's cool. Okay, Patagonia. I like that. Okay. Anybody else? You've got to get them out. A dream you've not gone after. Come on. I need
RV road trip across the country.
RV road. You missed that. You should have done during COVID. That was the time to go.
I started in 22, so
You started in 22, and then what happened?
I left Colorado.
You haven't left Colorado. You got like 49 states to go. Maybe 51 if soon, or 50. Oh, whoa, whoa, okay, sorry. Okay, third rail, we're done. No more politics, I promise. Okay, all right, so as we dive in, I want to tell you a story. And the story I want to tell you involves lions. How many of you like lions? Okay, so if you didn't raise your hand, out. How many of you don't like cats? That's why you don't like lions. I thought I used to hate.
Cats, but I like lions.
Yeah, see, that's okay, right? People used to give me crap. They're like, I don't like.
Not the cat.
What's that?
I like the cat family, not the cats. Not little cats, so like big cats.
You like the big cats, like.
I like big cats.
Like-
I don't like little cats, like jaguars.
I like you. You don't like jaguars?
No, I do like
Oh, I was like, jaguars are not little.
house cats are little.
You don't like the little ones. But then when they're kittens, they're great. But then when they get to be cats, they're not so great. And then when they get to be big, then they're great again.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, we're tracking. All right, so go ahead and throw that first slide up for me. So I want to tell you about this lion here. Can everybody see the lion in the photo? Okay, so I took this photo in September of this past year from my iPhone, which is why the quality is not super great because I don't like to lug a big camera around because I don't like something to be that in between me and the lions. So one of my hobbies is to track wild lions. So tracking wild lions is you go over on safari to Africa, and instead of being in a vehicle to view the lions, you actually get out on foot and you go walking and looking for them, not to hunt them, but just to experience their energy. Okay? Now, I want to tell you more about this lioness because 2 minutes before I took this photo, this lioness had charged at us because she was upset because she had cubs in the area, and she was letting us know that she doesn't like us being around. So I'll get back to that story in just a second, but I got to backtrack for a second. So if I go back to this, there's another photo. Go 2 photos, one more. That's just a zoomed in one because I didn't know if we'd be able to see it that well. So I got to go back to the time I first saw a lion. How many of you remember when you first saw a lion? A few of you? Okay. You've not seen lions before? Everybody been to the zoo? All right. So I saw a lion in a zoo when I was 15 years old. And when I was 15, I moved from Minnesota. Anybody from Minnesota? Sick. All right. Minnesota people. I moved from Minnesota to Nebraska. Sick. I know it's not cool anymore, is it? I said a bad word. What's the cool words? Tell me. Riz? That's not cool anymore. Is Steets? Is that cool? Josiah? No? What? I can say sick. Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right, so I go to this zoo when I'm 15 years old. And I had just moved, and I was like really struggling in life because my family got moved. My dad was military, so they moved us. And we moved to Nebraska, and I had to go to this whole new school. And I went literally for 2 months. I didn't say a word to anybody. I was so shy, and I had like zero self-confidence. Anybody ever been to like a school and you have like zero self-confidence and you don't know how to talk to people? That was me. And so my parents, I think in an effort to cheer me up, they took me to a zoo, which is like this super cool zoo in Omaha, Nebraska, called the Henry Dorley Zoo. And all I remember is I was like grumpy all day. And I was like this grumpy teenager, and nothing was going to make me happy. We're seeing like elephants and giraffes and all these cool animals. And I'm like, blah, 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 this is not cool. And so then I come around this corner and I see this lion. And something about it gripped me. And I was like mesmerized by this lion. And all I remember was that something awoken in me. And all I can think about was how like that lion, it was like it had like this huge mane. You ever been like close to a lion? The head's like this big. And it's got this brown, what, you laughing? And so it's got this massive head, and it's got these like golden eyes, and when it looks at you, it like looks through you. And so I remember I just like stared at this lion, and people are walking around all over the place, and I cannot look away from this lion. And it awakens something in me. And what I learned that day was that lion put this question in my heart. And the question it put in my heart was like, what is this feeling that's inside of me? Like, what's the intensity of this like allure that this lion is giving me? And so I just knew that somehow lions were going to be part of my life, but at my mind level, I couldn't understand what was going on in my body. And so over the next 20 to 25 years, I would begin to learn what that feeling meant. And it'll roll into like the goals we talk about tonight in terms of what this feeling of aliveness is like. And so fast forward 20, 25 years, I go to Africa 4 times because I want to see lions in the wild. So I go there, and I spend a lot of time there. And during that time of my life, so from 15 to 35, 40 years old, I go through a lot in life, and I'm spending a lot of my life trying to be like the good kid. And as I'm doing that, I'm like doing all the right things. I'm checking all the boxes. I graduate high school, like yes. I get a job, yes. Like I get married, yes. I'm doing all the things, and I'm like being good. And then as life would have it, later in my 30s, I started to go through like a time where my life started to fall apart. And so the woman that I was married to went through a massive life change and asked me for a divorce. So I went through like a massive 4 years of like heartbreak, of like figuring out how to put my life back together. And as I was putting my life back together, I went through like 4 years of therapy, moved from California to Colorado, and started to put my life back together. But there was always this like sense of like there's something about the lions. And there's something that seems to be like calling me. And so if we go back to the first photo. So then, so I finally make my way back to Africa. And so this past September, I decided I was going to take off 30 days from work. I was going to take a sabbatical. And I was going to go track lions because something seemed to just be calling me when regarding the lions and the energy that they bring. And so I get back over there. And as we're tracking, I'd been tracking one morning for like 4.5 hours. And we had seen nothing. And then 4.5 hours later, as we're walking into this dried riverbed, all of a sudden, we hear this lioness coming after us. And you will never forget the sound of a lion running after you and the deep growl that it has. But the interesting thing about lions is if you stand your ground, they'll actually stop. They will not take you. And it's this really fascinating thing. And what I've heard about it is they say that the lion's not used to something standing up to it. It's afraid of your courage. And so as I'm standing there and this lion runs at us, you stand your ground and you just can't believe what's happening around you as this lion is running at you. And I remember feeling that same feeling I felt when I was 15. And that same feeling that when I stared at that lion in the zoo and I couldn't look away, that there's something that's alive and awake inside of me that I don't know how to put words to. It's like more of like a physical sensation than it is like a rational concept. And so as I was processing all that, and luckily I've got guides with me. Trust me, I'm not out there by myself because I'd probably be dead. So I've got guides that are taking care of me, and they got me. And one of the things that's interesting as a side note is when we think about fear, right? When you think about the thing that you haven't done that you wrote down, there's probably some fear between you and that thing. Am I right? Like there's some sort of fear that comes up. And so one of the things that is sometimes people just say, just go do the thing you're afraid of. Well, that's not always the best advice, right? If you're like afraid of snakes, it's not like, just go start playing with snakes. You'll be fine. You'll get over your fear if you're still alive. And so what I found out was even better is rather than just go do what you're afraid of, get around people who make you more brave. Like when you're dating, date people that make you more courageous. Find friends and business partners that you want to do life with. Find people in a community like this that make you more courageous and make you want to do it with somebody. And so that was part of it. And then the other thing is that I started to notice is this feeling came up in me is that the reality that most of you in this room will probably not ever go and track wild lions. Yes, right? Am I right? And I do believe there are lions in your life. And those lions might come out like there's things that draw you in that you have no rational reason as to why they draw you in. And if you'll sit long enough and if you get still enough and you try enough things, there will be some things that start to call you and start to awaken you. And so it might be some grand thing like, trying to figure out how to build wells in Africa or starting a nonprofit or some, big thing like that. It can also happen in like the little moments where you're sitting and trying to write your book and you've got writer's block. Right? There's something that draws you to that because it's risky to like sit down and write and push through writer's block. Or maybe the person that you're romantically interested isn't interested in you, but you took the risk anyways. And there's like an experience of that, there's like an aliveness to it that draws you in. And so all I can say is as you're working on your goals tonight, what I want you to think about is I want you to think about the things that make you come alive. And so I don't want you to write down the things that you're supposed to write down. I want you to write down the things that really start to draw you, the things that you are afraid to write down. Like as you're writing them down, your hand starts to shake. Okay? And all I can tell you is that as you move towards those things, things start to happen that would not happen otherwise. When you start to move, when you start to write, things start to happen. Sometimes it's writer's block. And then sometimes you break through that. And soon enough, if you ask enough people out, I'm guessing somebody will say yes. Right? And maybe it'll work. And so as we dive into that, I'm going to give you a tool. So if I want you to look at the card on your table, the one that says intuitive fence on it. And so I'm going to give you this tool. It's one of my favorite tools that we offer in the trainings that we do. And it's designed to help you learn how to stretch what's called your intuitive fence. Now, let me talk about the intuitive fence for a second. So the idea of an intuitive fence is that we have these things in us that psychologists have studied, and it's called somatic markers. And a somatic marker is basically the thing that happens when you want to go after something and something inside of you tells you can't do it. It's called a somatic marker. It's a thing that's like an arbitrary thing that for some reason says, I can't do that thing. So whether it's a marathon or writing a book or whether it's skydiving in Patagonia, it's like there's something that tells you can't do that. And so, for example, if I said to you, hey, do you think you can make $1,000 this year? What was your intuition or what does your somatic marker tell you? Yes. And if I said to you, do you think you can make $100 million this year? What your somatic marker might tell you? Like, no. Like most of us in this room, unless somebody's really loaded, probably when you think about making $100 million bucks, you're like, I don't know if I can do that. And there's some reason between $1,000 this year and $100 million, there's somewhere where you hit that fence, right? So you start in the middle at something that's most possible, like making $1,000, and then as you move out, then it hits a fence where it's like stuck. And so for you, that might be 50,000, it might be 100,000, it might be 200,000, it might be $1 million. I don't know where that fence is for you. But there's a few things about the fence. One of them is that the fence is arbitrary. Because my guess is my fence is a little bit smaller than Elon Musk's fence. Because he thinks we can go to Mars or whatever. Or whatever. Okay? And so I'm not trying to go to Mars right now. I'm just trying to track lions. So I think it's more fun, all right? A little safer. It's really safe. It really is. Have you ever met somebody that's been eaten by a lion?
No, you could be the first.
But, I got a point. Nobody in this room has met anybody who's been eaten by a lion. Oh, that's track lions. Shh, don't ruin my stories. Okay. All right, so back on track here. So there's some point where you hit a fence, okay, in what you're doing. And so what I want to do is I want to give you time to write down, I'm gonna have you give me like a personal category and a professional category. So I want you to write down one thing in your life personally that's inside the fence and one thing that's outside the fence. So on a personal level, and then one thing that's inside the fence and one thing that's outside the fence on a professional level. So the idea is to take something that you're like, oh, I could do this year and it sounds like fun, and then I want you to stretch it to where it goes outside the fence to where you're like, oh, that sounds like fun, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know if I could do that. Does that make sense? So personal and professional. Raise your hand if that doesn't make sense. Is that not clear? Anybody unclear? Yes? Okay, great. So I'll give you time to do that. And then what I want you to do is, I'll tell you when, but take some time. If you have more than one, that's fine. You can have more than one. And then I want you to share that. Oh, wow. That was awesome. Okay. All right. So one personal, one professional inside, one personal, one professional outside. And then I'm going to ask you to share that out loud with the group in a second. So take a few minutes and write those things down. Ready, set, go. How was that so far? Like, how was that exercise for you? What was it like to share what was outside of your fence with other people? How was that? May? Felt bad? What like what? No, not bad. Not bad. Stetson, not bad. Great. Okay. So it's like shout out. What was it like to like share that? Vulnerable. Who said that? Okay. Hi. How are you? Good. All right. What else? Gratifying. Okay. Felt gratifying. What was that like? Far-reaching. Who said that? I'm sorry. Like, so many faces here. Far-reaching. Okay. Great. And what did it feel like to reach far? It felt impossible. Can I push you a little bit?
I'm like, oh no.
I know. You should not have done this. It said interactive coaching, to be fair. So, what does it feel like to want to do the impossible?
Exciting.
Okay. Like, is that a question? Like, can I ask you what you wrote down?
Oh, like what my things were?
Yeah.
Outside the box?
Yes. I mean, you don't have to. Again, you can all tap out if you want.
Potentially buy a house back home in San Diego.
Okay, I want to buy a house back home in San Diego. Real estate's cheap there, right? Super easy. Okay, great. All right. And so it felt exciting. So when you can imagine, if you think about buying a house in San Diego, it's exciting. So then is there any like fear that comes up?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the fear come up about?
Just like finances.
Yeah, finding like the money to be able to do that. And so the fear comes up because usually oftentimes because we think that we can't do that. Right? So can you hit the next slide real quick? So like oftentimes when we start to go outside of our fence, like all of these thoughts start to come up, right? I don't know how to do that, and I don't think I could learn, right? Whether it's making money or anything else. That would never work. That can't happen. It's not possible because X. That's never been done before. I don't have time for that. I'm too afraid. So there will always be a myriad of excuses as to why not to go after something. Right? Now sometimes they're good. Sometimes it's like a good not to go after something. But what I wanted to notice is that when these things start to come up when you go outside of your fence, and can we start to test those things? Can we start to put more weight on the bar of, is that really true that I couldn't do that? And really, really tap into what's holding us back. Okay? All right, what else? Who else? How'd that feel? Writing those things down. What was that experience like for you? What's that? It makes it real. Okay. And how does that feel? Like I took a step. I'm looking for a feeling. What's it feel like in your body? Yes, you get the feelings wheel out, you know?
It's like, I don't know, anxious step of like faith.
So anxious step of faith. Yeah. So like sometimes it feels like anxiety. Yeah. Hey, do you mind if I ask you what you wrote down?
Yeah.
You do mind?
Outside the box?
Yeah, outside the box.
Okay. Professionally, scaled my brand new business past 100K.
Past 100K. Do you mind if I ask what your business is?
Just got into health coaching.
What?
Like holistic health coaching.
Holistic health coaching. I love that. Okay, so for you, scaling it above 100K feels impossible.
In the first year.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome. So it creates some anxiety. And can you pinpoint what the anxiety is connected to in that process? The time. Okay.
All the things to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah, all the things to do in a short amount of time. Do you mind if I keep pushing? Okay. So what is it that, what of those activities makes you nervous?
I'm a perfectionist, so it's like,
Okay.
like being able to like put a product or service or a conversation out without it like being to the standard that I want it to be at.
Okay. So you're nervous about putting out a product that's not perfect. Yeah, okay. Good to notice, right? And so as I'm talking with somebody else in the room, my hope is that you're thinking about this for yourself. Because what we really want to hone in on is, because my guess is the things that you wrote down outside of your fence, you actually want that to happen in your life. Like this year, you'd love for that to happen, correct? Okay, so it would make sense that if you want that thing to happen, you would want to identify what are the things that are blocking that from happening. Is that, you tracking with me? Right, so when I decided I wanted to go on the 30-day lion checking sabbatical, there was all kinds of blocks that came up. Right, what's it going to cost? Is my CEO going to let me take the time off? What are all my clients going to think? I love the hiccups, it's great. And so all of these blocks start to come up. That's what naturally happens. Right? Which could sometimes, we oftentimes think that's a bad sign. Oh, I get nervous, I get anxious, I get whatever, I get afraid. Oh my gosh, what if I spend all this money and it doesn't work on a business or on a trip or whatever it is? And really, you should see that as a good sign. Now, why might that be a good sign? When like anxiety comes up, nervousness comes up. Like, why is that a good sign? Yeah, it means you care about it. What else? Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Is it really possible? Is it not? What is possible? What's not? Yeah. Realistic about it. Yeah. So it starts to it's like you care about it, and it's an indicator that you're actually doing something. You're going after something outside of your fence. You're going after something that feels like it's impossible to you right now. And oftentimes, like with imposter syndrome, we think imposter syndrome is a bad thing, and we're all like worried about it. And I love it when a client feels imposter syndrome, because I know that they're stretching themselves. Because if we go back to the circles thing, like when you're inside the fence, honestly, like life starts to get a little bit boring. And we start to sleepwalk. And we start to have this life where we're just kind of going through the motions. And what I find is the only way out of that, or one of the biggest way out of that, is to start to actually slow down and get still and really listen to what is it I want outside the fence. Because my guess is if I said, hey, fast forward your life to your 80, and I'm having a conversation with you and you're 80. And I said, hey, great, and you've lived your entire life inside that fence. How's that feel? Terrible? Like a waste of time? How's it feel? Disappointing? Embarrassing? Okay. A life unlived? Yeah. But what's funny is when we think about this, because we're really good at forecasting as humans. Like we're really good at thinking, when I'm 80, if I really look back on my life and I literally like watched Netflix and got drunk every night, or whatever, right? Or I didn't write the book, or I didn't take that trip, or I didn't go skydiving, or I didn't run that marathon. We could forecast that when you're 80, you're going to be like, man, like, I didn't really want to do, like, why did I do that? But then what's funny is, like, will you sit down and write tonight? Will you actually take that step towards the Patagonia skydiving? Like, will you just go one step further along the way and see what starts to open up? So, like, when you're tracking wild lions, you really don't know where the lions are. It's one of the things that tracking has taught me is that you have to just follow one track at a time, and then sometimes you look up and there's nothing. Sometimes you look up and there's another animal you didn't expect to be there. And sometimes you look up and there's a lion, and you get 2 minutes with a lioness like I got, who's protecting her cubs, and you get this like really fierce feminine energy from this lioness who's letting you know that like you're not messing with my cubs. And so the thing is that the thing that you have on your list is if you can break it down into small enough parts, then tonight matters and tomorrow night matters, so that you don't get to 80 and then look back and you live most of your life inside of this fence. Okay. All right, what else? Let's flip the script for a second. How did it feel hearing somebody else's thing outside of their fence? Like when somebody else told you something that was outside of their fence, what was your natural response? Motivating. Okay, it's motivating. Yeah, it's motivating. What else? You can do it. Yeah, like isn't that funny? So when somebody else says to you something that feels impossible to them, you're like, you could totally do that. But then when you say something out of your fence, you're like, you cannot do that. And so you get defensive about your fence. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't mess with my fence, bro. That's my fence. But then when somebody else says it, you're like, you could totally do that. Isn't that interesting? Which is why I mentioned earlier in the story was like, get around people that when you say your dreams to them, I want to surround myself with people that say to me, that dream's too small. Like when I say to people, like I'm building a business right now to take people line checking, and when I say, hey, I want to do 2 trips this year, I want somebody that says, why not 4? And when I say, hey, I want to take 1,000 people in the next 10 years, they go, why 1,000? Why not build a business out of it? Why not train other people to do it? And I'm like, holy crap. Like, that's fascinating because I haven't thought about that yet. I thought, I want to do 2 trips, right? Okay, what else? What else was the experience like? Who wants to, I want to talk with more people here. What else? Who else wants to talk about what's outside their fence? Over there. This table is like the hot table. All right.
So I realized that my being out of the box, both were just making time limits on what was inside the box. So the first one was solo traveling and putting a time frame on that solo traveling. So like 3 months, I'd say, would make me uncomfortable.
Okay, to go traveling for 3 months makes you uncomfortable. Okay? And what about, so let's make a distinction here. So going traveling 3 months, my guess is that doesn't make you uncomfortable. If I said, hey, here's $1 million, go travel for 3 months, you wouldn't be like, no, right? So it's not actually the traveling for 3 months. So this is a distinction I want you all to pay attention to. So when you look at your intuitive fence and the things that you wrote that are outside, it's not that thing that scares you. That's our natural gut reaction to it because we've been conditioned to think that what we want, we aren't supposed to have. We've been conditioned to think, don't dream that big. Does it track with me? Like, who do you think you are traveling for 3 months? You can't just do that. You're supposed to sit down in your cubicle and work 9 to 5 until you're 70, and then maybe you can go travel for 3 months if you've saved up well. Sound great? Yeah. I got one guy to laugh. I love it. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's not that. So what is it about traveling for 3 months that makes you nervous?
I think it's like being alone for so long.
Okay, being alone for so long.
Yeah.
Okay.
My family.
Yeah, not having your family. Yeah. So some valid stuff there, right? So then now you get to start to encounter what really gets in the way and, could I, what would it feel like? And maybe it's you don't go 3 months right away. Maybe you do it for 2 weeks and start to work your way into it. That can be a pathway as well. Or maybe you just go for it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So great. So you're going to book it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there anything else in there that feels sticky?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Where are you from?
Here.
Oh, you're from here. Okay, great. Everybody's from here, it seems like, except for the Texas guys. All right. Who else? Texas. Yes. Hi.
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 My friend and I have talked about going on a road trip to see every Springfield in America.
Okay. Are you a fan of The
It's
Simpsons?
just funny. I don't know.
Okay, it's just funny. Okay, great.
Yeah, there's 60.
There's 60 Springfields?
Yeah, and I already have the sweatshirt design of
Okay.
what I want it to look like.
Okay, so what's stopping you?
A few things. The finances.
Okay.
And we considered, we're like, could we get some sort of a van company on board to let us, to sponsor our trip? So, and we could do some sort of photographic something.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
But we just hadn't fleshed it out. And then I do have a regular job,
Okay.
which I could do remotely potentially if she's driving. But it
Okay. No, I want you to work and drive. Let's do this.
Yeah, but it really came down to I didn't know what to do after I got to the, what car, how do we function?
Well, let's backtrack for a second, right? So there's a good distinction here. Is sometimes when we're in vision casting mode, we start to go into strategy when it's not time for strategy yet. Because what I want us to really key in on is, does that thing call to you? Right? So what is it about the road trip to all the Springfields? What is it about that draws you?
I just
It sounds fun. Okay, great. I mean, fun's fine.
I've just found that when I have ideas that are kind of like silly or playful or something that strikes me as being amusing,
Yeah.
and thinking about, I would love if I did that, and having the idea in itself and like brainstorming it, talking about it with my friend, and like thinking up like the sweatshirts and our matching stuff that we would do.
Yeah.
Is really fun, but actually doing the idea, I do want to look back on my life and be like, yeah, I did that really.
I went and did the things that seemed crazy.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Because why not?
That's great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what's stopping you is that you have a job and you have finances.
It's probably more the finances. I could work it out.
Okay.
Like, what car, where do we stay? My friend doesn't have a regular income.
Okay.
At this time, so.
Okay, great. So you got some fun challenges in there.
Right.
But it does seem like there's like an aliveness to it for you. So like there's like, I want to figure out how to do this, right? So then what you want to start doing, and for all of us in the room, is like when you really feel drawn to something, is like, what the heck is blocking me? And really get like granular about that. Because if you break it down to small enough chunks, like this is a solvable thing. Like I met a couple, on New Year's Eve, I went out to dinner with a bunch of people, and one of the couples literally just like travels the world and like organizes trips. And I was like, how do you do that? And it turns out like they were both doctors, and one day, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, they were just like tired of being tied to the hospital. They're like, I don't want to be tied to the hospital anymore. And they had this crazy idea that like, what if we started traveling and got really good at traveling, and then like found all kinds of local guides in all these cool places like New Zealand and Bali and the Machu Picchu and all these things like that, and then like organized trips. They focused on like healthcare workers at first, like traveling nurses and all kinds of people like that. And literally now they're like on their way to like, probably within a couple of years, that will be their full-time gig. They'll never work for a hospital again. You tracking? Like, so most people would have had the excuse of like, you can't do that because, well, you're supposed to work at a hospital. You got all these medical bills. You got all these things like that. The tendency is to go to like why you can't do it rather than all the ways that you can. And even if it required you to quit your job, like, would you be willing to? Yeah, okay.
That particular reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been wanting to switch jobs, so if I could work it out to have a time in between.
yeah, maybe. And then like you come up with all yeah, a little time in between.
Yeah, I like tell my manager to follow my Instagram account.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think you could sell sweatshirts. I bet you could probably sell like 100 sweatshirts in here.
Well, I already, yeah.
Right?
The back says, how like a concert says like all this stuff?
Yes.
It's just
Springfield.
It's like,
What I love is that some states have more than one Springfield. That's absurd. Is there one in Canada? Whoa. Third rail. Not Canada, that's fine. I don't care. What's that? Not yet. Gonna get me in trouble. All right. So what I invite you into is this idea that like, what's the next step? What's the next track? When you think about what you wrote down, when you think about what's outside of your fence, it's just literally, what if you didn't have to figure out the entire plan right now? You just needed to move towards the thing that brings you aliveness. What if that was the pathway? All right, what else?
There are 2 Springfields in Canada.
Okay, all right, well, add it to the list. I mean, it's nice in the summer.
see the distance.
Okay, we'll see it. Yeah, because Canada's big. It's really big. Yeah, okay. Is this helpful? Is this helpful? Yes. Raise your hand if this is not helpful and you're bored. Be honest. Are you bored? Come on.
No, I feel like we're starting different paths.
Okay.
I think big all day long.
You think? Okay, great. So talk to me. Okay.
So, do you want to go this direction or that direction or this direction? We got one life.
Okay. Which direction do you want to go?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
So it's nice to find a step, but you got to find a step in one, and then put other ones on back burners, and then if that one doesn't happen, then you go, or you get that one, and then you go to the next one.
Okay. Sounds like you know a lot about the future.
No, I don't. Big thinker.
Oh, big thinker. Okay.
Love the shower.
Do you want help? Do you want help?
Oh.
We got a professional volleyball player, professional racquetball player, professional skydiver, professional book writer, professional. All right. Okay.
So the goals go two different ways. If I'm healthy, great.
Okay.
Go in this direction. If we're not healthy, well then.
Well, so your next step is tomorrow. Okay, great. What if that's all you need to know?
But then you got two awesome things. Like I had a year full of business, which was so much fun. It's work full time. So then you got to combine them too.
Oh, that sounds fun. Okay, we'll call me tomorrow, and we'll figure out where to go. Okay. What else? Yeah.
I want to open my own wedding venue.
Open your own wedding venue.
Yeah.
Okay. And why do you want to do that?
So I'm a nurse, and I feel like I need a creative outlet.
Okay.
I want something that's mine and that I can just kind of like pour into and yeah, just like have something creative that I can invite people to and also I think would make good money.
Okay, great. And does it make you feel alive?
Well, I haven't done it yet, but I think it would.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the characteristics you talked about, right? So like, as you're thinking about, for the whole room, as you're thinking about your intuitive fence, when you think about the things outside of it, what I want you to ask yourself is, does it feel like it has an energy to it? Does it feel like it's calling you? Does it feel like like it almost pulls you into the future? Does that make sense? Like you feel it in your body. Does anybody like not feel it in their body at all? Like when they look at what's outside their intuitive fence, like when you start thinking about the wedding venue, and you literally can already imagine it. I can tell, right? So there's this creativity, all this stuff's involved in it, and so you're start to put it all together. So then, do you know what's blocking you?
I don't know the first thing about business.
Okay. Well, my guess is, okay. I bet you know the first thing.
Maybe not the second.
Okay, the second. Okay, great.
And then also just like the funds to buy like a plot of land and like build a barn or how that would look. It feels like a lot of upfront money before you could even make your first dollar.
Okay, great. So how many people in the room here know the first thing about business? Raise them high. Great. So now you know all your new friends, right? How many of you know about creative financing when it comes to buying a venue of some sorts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots of people, okay? So one of the things, and this is what I found interesting, right? Because like before I went lion trekking, I thought if you were on foot with lions, you would just get eaten. I was like, this doesn't seem like a great option to me, right? So I like being in the vehicle. But then when I heard people were out there walking around, I was like, they're not eaten. This seems interesting, right? And so then I started to get around people that track lions, and they have literally no fear. And then I met this one guide who literally owns 30 snakes. One of the guides owns 30 snakes in his house. 15 of them are like venomous. Like one of them's he's got like a 10-foot black mamba, which is like, I think, the most venomous snake in the world. And I was like, you're not afraid of that thing? I was like, how do you move it? And he's like, well, I just pick my battles. I'm like, pick your battles? So I was like fascinated, and he said to me this one thing. He goes, the difference, let's see if I can get this right. He said, the difference between fear and passion is knowledge. So the difference between fear and passion is knowledge. And so I talked to him the other day, and he's got this amazing South African accent, which I wish I could learn. But I'm arranging this summer to go and have him teach me to handle snakes because I am terrified of it. But what I know is there's a lot of people in the world that have no fear of snakes. Do you know that? Not a lot, maybe, but there's some. That no fear of snakes, no fear of business, no fear of lions, no fear of running marathons. And so what I want you to start doing is learn how to surround yourself with the people that aren't afraid of the things that you're afraid of. Because they're everywhere. I mean, I got like 7 finance gurus in here that can help you start to just take the next step on planning that out. Right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know where that's going to lead you. But I know it might lead you to another conversation, and maybe you have a business partner that's got a lot of money, and then you're like the creative genius, and all of a sudden, 3 years from now, like my friends I told you that were doctors, you've got a business. It'll just be easy like that, I promise. Okay, any questions about that? Jack? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Who else? Running out of time. You have a question, okay? How do you know when you're limiting yourself from dreaming? Do you feel like you're limiting yourself? Okay. Okay, so that's how you know. Okay, so well, what is it? How are you limiting yourself? Like, what is it you're afraid to say that you want?
I don't know. I just feel like I have a big blocker with my health. And
Okay.
so I feel like sometimes I'm in survival mode and I'm just fighting to be stable. So I don't feel like I can dream past that.
Okay. So I'm gonna mention something to you, and I want to be very gentle with it. Okay. So there's a tendency. So when I ask a client a question, very often the client doesn't answer the question I ask them because they don't want to. Does that make sense? So, and I'm being very gentle with this because with clients I'm a little feistier. But so I'm really interested in my question, which is, what are you afraid to admit that you want?
There's so other things I'm interested in. I'm not sure if I'm really passionate about them.
Well, that's okay. Just by saying out loud that you want something doesn't mean you have to go get it. So, like, what is it you're just afraid to say out loud that you want? Like, really want?
Well, one thing I've been wanting to do is volunteer at hospital resource centers and making myself take.
Okay. That's beautiful. Okay. Yeah, no, good. I like that. Just love it. Okay, what else?
Well, very long term, I'd like to build a women's retreat where I teach women how to take biblical concepts from their head to their heart to their daily life.
All right, do it. I'm going to bring you everywhere. The hype man right over here. George from London. All right. He's from London. I talked to him earlier. He's got a great beard. Are you single? What? He's lost his. That's so sad. But are you single? He's single. Hey, all I want is some royalties, okay? All right. All right. So that sounds amazing. Okay. So your original question was like, how do you know when you're limiting yourself? So like, does it feel like it's still a question?
I guess a little bit.
Okay.
Like, you're talking about like, oh, well, what's a small step you can take in that direction? I feel like I'm frozen and I can't take a step.
Okay, but do you know what the step is? Like, what's the very tiniest little step you could take to be a ESLTA? Did I get that right?
Like a TA for an ESL class.
Okay. So, like, what's the very littlest step you could ever take to move in that direction?
I already speak Spanish. I don't know.
Okay.
Do it once, I guess.
Okay, do it once. Okay, so like Google how to become, like how to volunteer. Oh, you just sign up. That's easy, okay. So what's stopping you from doing that?
Because I don't know if I can commit to doing it regularly.
Okay. Okay. So what would need to happen for you to know if you could commit to that regularly?
I guess I just have to feel like I have enough energy to do it regularly.
Okay, because of the health stuff. Okay. Is there a way you could volunteer like not regularly? Oh, right. So it's like the next step, right? Is to figure out like, and what I promise you and do you get aliveness from doing that? Do you get aliveness from the idea of the idea that you had with women, head to heart, biblical principles, things like that, right? Does that create aliveness in you? Okay. So what I want you to be careful of is when you're trying to create a 10-year plan, right? And so what I want to invite you into is not the 10-year plan. I want you to invite you into like that feeling in your body that doesn't make rational sense, that you're just drawn to. And you can't look away from it. You just are drawn to it. That's what I want you to follow. And then start to find out answers to those things, because maybe you can volunteer just like, not regularly. And that works. And you can kind of figure out where your energy is at each time. Or maybe like when you're with your other idea, maybe you like need a business partner to help you with that. Something like that. Okay? All right, so what I want you to do, Benji, so you can go to like 8:30-ish?
You can go until 8:45.
Oh, okay, all right. So then, so what I want you to do now is there's a question I'm going to put up, and I want you to stretch your fence a little bit more. So the fun thing, we'll do that one, and then this one. So I want you to stretch your fence, because what's fun about stretching your fence is it's like a rubber band that if you stretch the rubber band enough, what happens? What? Oh, it breaks. That's true. It gets bigger. And if you keep doing it, eventually, I used to use the example of like underwear, but it's like not cool. It's like, but eventually like it stops like going back, right? So when you start to stretch your, I did not expect that to be that funny. That's great. All right. So it starts to stretch, and then all of a sudden you can't go back. You can't think yourself back into the fence, right? Like how many of you have run a marathon? Okay. Was there a time in your life you didn't know if you could run a marathon? Or you just always knew you were just an amazing runner? Right? How many of you done Ironman? Wow. Okay. Was there a time in your life you thought you couldn't do an Ironman? Okay. Can you think that again now? Can you think, I don't know if I can do an Ironman? Well, maybe. Okay. All right. Okay, that fell apart quick. Okay. So you can't go back. So I want to stretch your fence some more. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to really think about this question. Is what are you not going after simply because you currently think it's not possible? That you really want to go after. So think about aliveness in your body. Think about things that you're drawn to. Think about world problems you want to solve. I don't care what it is. I'm going to give you a few minutes with some music in the background to have a conversation with yourself about what are you not going after simply because you currently think it's impossible. All right? Ready, set, go. All right, so how was that for you? How was it? How'd it feel? What was the experience like? Exciting? Okay. How many of you have done something already in your life that at one point you thought was impossible? Great. So you all are terrible at assessing your capacity. Absolutely terrible. Right? Because at one point you thought something was impossible, now you did it. Okay? So who would love to share something that they wrote down? Yeah.
I think it's impossible to help people to be healthier for free.
For free.
Yeah.
You think it's impossible to help people be healthier for free?
Yeah.
Okay, say more. What's your question?
So I just think that not everybody can afford, say something, personal trainer, health coach, whatever. But in the other side, not everybody appreciates free stuff.
Okay.
So if you see someone struggling with their health and you just approach and give some opinion or some information, just because it's free, they either don't use it or don't think it's valuable.
Okay.
So I'm a health coach, and I would love to help people to be healthier, but everybody can afford it.
Okay. And so is your question like it feels impossible to have a business where you're helping people be healthy?
Without charging, like people who can afford it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the question, what's your question?
How to make people understand that not because it's free is bad.
Okay. All right. I'm tracking. Okay. So who in the room thinks they could help her with this problem? Stetson, the volleyball player. All right. And we got one over here. All right. We got 3. Okay. So notice, like, in this room, probably most of the challenge that you're facing, there's probably somebody in the room that will really help you with it. Like, there's like brilliant business minds in this room. And if they're not in this room, they're outside of this room. Right? So how many people have you asked about that dilemma that like work in that field?
I mean, I had my
Yeah.
And I just coach them, but then at some point I just lose them. And like recently I learned it's because it's free. So they are not paying for it. So they just don't appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
which
they need it, but anyways they don't appreciate it.
yeah, which does well. They apparently don't think that they need it. Because if they needed it, they'd love the free thing and roll with it. So I think the question for you is, why do you keep investing in that direction? Because like, what's your favorite client?
My favorite client?
Yeah, what is your favorite type of client?
Oh, the ones who works with me.
Yeah.
Their process.
Yeah, even if you were coaching for free, you just want somebody who's like going to do the work, right? And that's like with anybody that's like service-based business, right? If you're like a personal trainer, you don't, even if somebody's paying you, I guess you'll take the money, but it's like if they don't show up to the gym and they're not getting results, it's like, it's not that you're doing personal training because you like to see people get fit, right? And so you're doing so I'd say tap back into like what you love about the work, which is working with people that really are passionate about it, and they're going to be your biggest evangelists. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa.
I'm saying here, no, honestly, okay, so the mindset is that it's what you want as the person. I want to do this particular thing. But if other people don't want that or have conflict with that, then that's going to have a effect on what I want, as is with this kind of situation, right?
Okay.
We all have wants and we all understand how money works, where you have to have something that drives a desire for somebody to invest in what you have.
So let me slow you down here. So what's your question?
Okay, very good. The question is that the right attitude to have? That, well, I guess I gotta change my goal because maybe it's possible, but it's not profitable.
Okay, well hold on a second. So let's focus. Are you willing to talk about you?
Sure.
Okay, what's the thing that's impossible to you?
What's impossible to me is making an impact within the science community
Okay.
that is respectable.
Okay, and can you give me an example of like what that means?
Well, for example, it would be such as I go into the research environment and it's recognized as, okay, you're bringing something that is interesting to the table that the rest of us want to invest in, and we want to pour into you to help you grow in your career, rather than you're here because we need you to do this job, and that's all we need you to do. Do not be creative, do not think outside of the box, because that is not what is making money for our system. Our
Okay.
system needs you to be in this operational mode. And
Okay.
that's
Okay.
just the harsh reality.
Well, yeah, I hear you. So is anybody forcing you to be in the situation that you're in? That's just yes or no.
Well, it's not just
No.
a yes or no answer, and here's why. Here's why I believe it's not a yes or no answer. Because if the answer is yes, somebody is, well, that's not entirely true because you have free will choice to do what you want to do. And
Yeah.
the sky's the limit. But here's the problem. If something is possible, does that mean that, okay, it's possible, so we all pursue that direction, or that it's an expectation for you to go in that direction because it's a possibility? No. There's a 1% possibility. There's a realism into this that needs to be considered in order for
Well-
you to achieve that goal.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to necessarily solve that tonight. My only question to you is, are you going in the direction of what makes you feel alive?
Well, you go in the direction,
No, it wasn't like a hypothetical. It was like, are you?
certainly.
So you feel alive?
Well, no. I feel like I'm being brought into an answer, which is where you can control what your response is.
Where I can control my responses?
Where you can control how the conversation goes
Okay.
in a comfortable manner. I'm asking a challenging question.
Okay, but my question is, hold on. My question is, do you want help? Do you actually want to engage in the realm of the world that you don't know?
Yes,
Like truly?
yes.
Okay. Because that's all I'm wanting is like curiosity. Is like, are you feeling alive? And you could say like on a scale from 1 to 10, how alive do you feel in your current life? And I invite everybody in the room to think about that for a second.
You can be pursuing where you want.
No. Hold on. So, listen. So I hear you, and I'm with you, right? But I really want the whole room to ask that. Is like on a scale from 1 to 10, how alive do you feel on an average day? And just be honest with yourself, right? And there's I'm not dogmatic about it, but I have this philosophical belief that I'm going to live my life and constantly be pursuing what makes me feel alive, because I think that God put that in my heart to move towards aliveness. And that's it. That's faith.
But that's also Aldrian psychology.
Well, okay. Okay. I love you. Let's talk afterwards. Yeah. What else? Yeah, we're sharing. What'd you write down?
I don't have a question.
Okay, that's okay. You can still share. You don't have a question. I might ask you if you have a question, but
So, I wouldn't say I think it's impossible, but I don't know how to get there. My mission would be to, I want to go back to Mexico, which is where I'm from, and do something in the educational system such that there is a generational change in our culture to not accept corruption as much as it's just a normal everyday thing right now.
yeah, okay. Yeah, George, thanks. Okay, I love that. That sounds like an amazing dream. Does it make you feel alive?
Yeah, I think the reason that that's one of my dreams is because I think Mexico is a very rich and powerful nation that is like poorly invested into by the mines, and it's part of it is that just like crime and corruption is just so acceptable.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to do things that are going to move me in that direction, but I would love to start that in my early years. I'm 30 right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to start that when I'm like 50 or 60, which is not too late, but if I could start sooner,
Yeah.
that would be, I would be able to create more impact.
Yeah. And so so then the next step for me is like, once you have that dream that's like, creates aliveness in you, then it's just like, what's the next step? Are you clear on what the next steps are? And then as you start to move towards it, theoretically, like blocks are going to come up, right? And if you really want it, then you want to know what those blocks are, because then you want to keep taking steps. So then, are you clear on next steps?
No, the thing that I would say is my next step, given where I am now, is how can I make an impact in the Latino community with American resources, because that's something that I do like connect with.
Yeah. So you do have a next step.
I don't know what exactly it is.
Okay.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
partner with people who can make that vision come alive.
Yeah. And to share that vision with people, right? Like one of my biggest things to tell people is like, share your vision more often with more passion. Because you never know when you're in a room of people that could finance what you're wanting to do. You just never know. Or just people who know people who could finance it. But you've got to start with like, this makes me feel alive, so I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to keep moving in that direction. And I won't stop until I find a way or it takes me in another path. Yeah. Answer your question? Did you have another question, or is that helpful? Okay, great. Okay. All right. You had something, Nate?
I got a question.
Oh.
What if you believe, like, when other people say, like, a crazy dream, I'm like, what a pipe dream? That's what I think. And I think the reason why is because I think that about my own. So how do you work through that?
Okay. Are you God?
No?
Okay. Thank God. Okay. So who is to say if it's a pipe dream or not?
I guess I am.
Oh, you're God. So you are God.
This isn't going well so far.
I know. This is why I told you to bring it up in the room, so I get a few laughs. All right. So, so step one is I'm not God, and then what?
What is the dream? What is it?
What's your pipe dream?
I'm scared to say because I don't want to be disappointed.
Okay. I mean, okay. You know, does it really?
Sometimes.
Oh,
This goes okay.
thanks God. Okay, all right.
Anyways, I don't know. I would love to own my own business. I'd love to own my own, like, financial planning and wealth management firm. And, yeah.
Okay, why?
I think it would give me freedom. Like,
You think it'll give you freedom?
I don't want people telling me what to do.
Okay, I don't. All right, preach. All right, okay, and why do you want that?
Let me think for a second.
Waiting, we're waiting.
I think it would be free.
But why do you want freedom? What are you going to do with all your freedom?
Oh, I don't know. Take some time off. And
I don't know. How many of you would like some more freedom, you know? Okay, yeah, okay. So you take some time off, and what would you do with your time off? Just sit? Okay, great. Where are you going to go on vacation? Okay, Hawaii. I love it. What are you going to do in Hawaii? Go to the beach. Okay, great. Go hiking, all right?
well, I think I think the biggest reason is I don't want other people like to tell me what I need to recommend when I don't think it's what's best for somebody. If that makes sense.
Like, so if you're working in a grander financial wealth management structure, they tell you what to do.
Yeah, they put the pressure on.
Okay, great. So what's stopping you from starting your own firm?
Money. Well, yeah, I think, I gotta pay my rent and stuff.
Okay. I mean, you can always move in with your parents. But does the idea of it make you feel alive? Okay, so what's the first step to starting your own firm?
Meeting some people that have already done it.
Okay, anybody in this room started their own wealth management firm? You know 2 people. She knows 2 people. She knows 1. Right? So like you're on your path, right? Now, and the main thing is be really mindful when you tell yourself stories that keep you inside of your fence rather than stories that get you outside of it. So be careful when you tell yourself stories that reinforce the fence rather than throw you outside of it. Right? So when you say pipe dream, that's a story. It's like it's a way of you thinking about the thing that you want, and then you tell yourself a story that actually detracts you from getting to it. Does that make sense? So like when I work with athletes and they've got all these like negative things going on in their brain, like they start to tell themselves stories that decreases their performance. And I was like, well, what would happen if you actually just started telling yourself, it's all story, right? Like these guys play in the NHL and they tell themselves stories that they suck. Like, what NHL player do you know that sucks at hockey? You do not make it that far if you suck at hockey. Okay? Yeah, everybody's fighting to be there. And then they're like, oh, I suck because I didn't score for 5 games. I suck. And I'm like, do you really suck? And how's that story working for you? And he's like, oh, I get tight. I get tense. My performance decreases. I can't score. Like, no kidding. And so with whatever is outside of your fence, just notice where the moment you write it down, you're like, oh, I can't do that. And like, who said so? Because based on what you told me earlier, you've done something at some point that was impossible. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is really just, I'm going to give you just like 2 minutes because I really want you to sit. What I want you to walk away from is I kind of want you to walk away from here with a little bit of like a burn in your stomach, like a burn, like a good burn. What's that? Yeah, like you need Tums, yes. Like you need some Tums. Oh my gosh. So I just want you to write down, I want you to get really honest about what is blocking you. And what I want you to be really clear on is I don't want something external that's blocking you. Not right now. Okay? Some other time you can think about all the external market factors in real estate and blah, 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 like why I can't do this. I want you to write down, how are you blocking yourself? And get really honest about what is blocking me that I'm doing to block myself. All right? Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Right. Ready, set, go. Okay. So did you feel like you had clear blocks of like how you're blocking yourself? Okay. Who wants to share a few? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I have to start with the like things that I think are impossible.
Yeah.
So it's twofold. I want to write a book about domestic violence aimed at high schoolers to educate them and toxic relationships. And then twofold, I want to start speaking at high schools and colleges on properly.
Okay.
How they deserve to be loved. But the thing that's stopping me from doing that is I'm insecure about my abilities to share all those topics and get personal. Because in order to have the respect, I have to share why I have that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's what's holding me back.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability with that. Do you have a sense of like what would be the first step?
I mean, this is a first step.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like, the first step would just be, like, writing my outline of the book so I have an idea of the direction I want to go in with everything.
Yeah. And what would be the first step in writing an outline?
Just the topics.
Well, partly is the topics. Like, I want to get really granular, right? So, like, I've started trying to write, and like literally, step one is like open the computer and like open a Word document, and then just start like writing crap. You with me?
Yeah.
Like, so part of it is just like write the worst outline you could ever imagine writing. Just like get your computer open and just start writing. Is like step one. Yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that. Anything else on that?
No.
Okay.
No, it's my purpose, and I just need to figure out a way to get there.
Yeah, and it feels very like, you ever notice how like when somebody says something, you believe them, like you're like that really, it's like it's essential to you, like there's an aliveness there to it, right? And so as you're like going on this whole journey of this thing, like feel what you can feel it in yourself if you really care about something or not, right? And so the last thing I'll just want to say, and then I'll be done, is just write down, like once we wrap up, just really quick, like write down what's that next small step. What is your next track? And just like it can be a very small step, and I want you to just like make that like a commitment to yourself that you're just going to do one step. And if you don't want to go any step further, that's fine. That's obviously up to you. And then just for the heck of it, because I love offering resources, if you're interested in talking to any of us, we've got like a firm of like 50 coaches. If you're like perplexed or stuck and you want to, take the conversation further, there's a QR code. And you can talk to CJ or Tim or Aaron afterwards or somebody else. But we love doing this type of thing. And so we would love to have like just like a vision conversation with you and get into some of the strategy as well. Okay, I'm done. I'm a minute early. So thank you all for being here, and this was awesome, and it's great to be with you.